removed the CMU on Monday, and that was built in probably the mid-20th century. So it's a later addition to Cloverfields. And before that, we'd been excavating the inside and the outside of the CMU separately, although the kitchen, which was here in the 18th century, was spanned both inside and outside. So just to my right is the old wall of the CMU. Beyond that was outside. I'm on the inside here. We removed it so we cleaned up all the excavations again, and then we took additional photos to really get a full picture of the original kitchen, because although we could draw plans and come up with constructs of how it probably looked, by removing the CMU it really gave us a good idea of the plan of that old kitchen. So we had the CMU wall went here, again built in the mid-20th century. Just here we had another wall, and this was a shed which was put up round about the 1900, and that shed was put up after they removed the 18th century kitchen which once stood here. So this shed stood here from the from the turn of the 20th century to probably the middle of the 20th century, at which point this shed was removed, this larger CMU building was constructed, and that kind of cut the old kitchen into two. Here you can see the foundation of the old kitchen running here. This would have been the chimney, the hearth space right here, and you can see one wall of the hearth, the chimney breast right there. Onto my left, this is an earlier feature. This actually predates our period of significance. This is probably the middle of the 18th century. And this fell out of use with the new kitchen which was constructed in the latter part of the 18th century, our period of significance. We also have a couple of post holes, one right in front here, and that we think that predates our period of significance. So you can see that this area has been really heavily used over the last 300 years, and we think probably there's at least 2 different kitchens stood in this spot, maybe more, and they predate this latest shed, the CMU building here. I'm here in the what we call the Ashfield cellar. This cellar used to be within the CMU building. It was part of our excavations within the CMU building. Now the CMU's been removed, and so it's exposed. So it's going to be important to protect this. Things to know about this feature here is, even though it fell within the constructs of our building, our kitchen from our period of significance, we think that this cellar actually predates that building. We think there was originally a fireplace behind me, a large fireplace, and it faced in this direction. This large cellar, now we're only in a small part of the cellar would have extended another foot or so that way, and it goes about 4 feet behind me. And it would also extend it under this wall here. And this cellar was placed near to the fireplace, and they used it to store ash in part of the cellar, mainly on this side. It was full of ash, and they would scoop that ash from the remains of the fire, and then they would use the ash and they would combine it with animal fats to make soap. So this was quite a great and economical way to make soap with leftover things that you had remaining. The other thing to note about this, we do believe this was wood lined. We have evidence in the wall showing where the wood lining used to be, and over time rotted away, including imprints into the wall, different coloured soils, that kind of thing, that really give us an idea of what this used to look like. Now behind me, you'll see this rather crude brick right here. You can see it's not as tidy as the wall itself. So we think that this cellar was open when they built this structure here. We think that this cellar was probably in use in the middle of the 1700s, so around about the 1750s, that kind of period. So immediately preceding the construction of this kitchen and back building here. So here we have the back wall of the kitchen from our period of significance, and right in front of it here you can see this irregular shaped pit feature here, and this was probably a root cellar. This would be where they would put their root vegetables to preserve them in the winter. You would want to have them close to the fire, but underground, and that being close to the fire meant they didn't freeze, but they still stayed kind of cool because they were under the ground, and you would normally have these close to the fireplace. What's unusual about this one is it's almost right in the fire's hearth, right here. So we think that this may actually predate our kitchen from our period of significance, our 1784 kitchen, which you can see around us. So this may be earlier kitchen here, and this pit links directly with that. So right here we've got this is a post hole where it had two separate posts, and it's quite a regularly square-shaped post hole. Now this is interesting because it's right on the corner of the foundation. So we have a brick foundation, and then we have wooden post right here, and we couldn't work out why there's a wooden post right here on the corner when you have a brick building instead. Well, what we found over here behind me is a identically shaped post hole. Now that on top of that is a trash midden from the late 18th through mid 19th century, so that we know that post hole was there before the trash midden was there, and it matches almost identically with this one. So a question we haven't been able to answer it yet, is are these two post holes are definitely related, but how do they relate to this kitchen? Were they in use as some kind of lean-to shed, outbuilding, maybe a covered cellar associated with this kitchen? Or do they in fact predate the kitchen here and speak to its former kitchen, which was here in the 1750s? These are one of the many questions that we still don't know the answers to, but I think eventually we will get there with some additional archaeology and maybe a little bit of good fortune. The rest of the features within the kitchen won't be protected. They've all been fully excavated now. So the next plan for that will be the rebuilding of the kitchen to its 1780s specifications, and that will mean the loss of these features, but all of the data has already been collected from them, archaeologically speaking, and we're in the midst of processing them back at the Applied Archaeology Lab. On the outside of the kitchen walls, those features that remain will be protected, and we'll make sure they stay in place for future generations of archaeologists to come back and explore as they need.